guys, what's going on? You are listening to TWIG, otherwise known as ThisWeekInGeek.net, and I am one of your many hosts. I am, of course, Mike the Birdman Dodd, but I'm not alone as I trek through, well, this week of, I don't have anything particularly clever here, so I'm just going to go with what the fuck ever. I'm joined by the man in Kitchener himself, the man who is about town now that the transit strike has been over for a little bit. He's actually getting out and doing things again.
It feels so good, Alex. Actually, oh no, that's going to be taken out of context at some point. Make a mashup of just me saying it feels so good.
Oh boy. Oh man. So yeah, we are back here at TWIG as always, delivering to you our hot takes and opinions on the world of entertainment, geek news, reviews, and whatever else we have in our hot little hands for this particular week. So yeah, this past week has been fairly quiet, actually. Haven't had a whole hell of a lot of things really going on. Actually spent a lot of time watching movies because it was Oscar Sunday this past week. Decided to just, hey, I haven't watched a lot of movies in a while, so maybe I'll sit down and watch a few things. I haven't watched any of the big Oscar movies yet. I am planning on going to see 1917 fairly soon. I do want to go see Parasite because that's a historic win in and of itself because it won Best Foreign Picture and Best Picture. Joaquin Phoenix won for Joker. It won for Best Score, which I think totally deserved for that. Sound editing, I'm really surprised I went to Ford versus Ferrari. And this year was also hostless, but it was really, really good. And this is the first time I've watched the Oscars in like 15 years. So it was neat that they brought in some guy who rapped the first 2 hours of the Oscars. He gave like a recap in like freestyle rap form, and it was really, really entertaining. They had Billie Eilish perform the in memoriam, basically all the people that have passed away in Hollywood, most recently Peter Fonda. There were some names missing, like Luke Perry wasn't there, Sid Haig wasn't there. And some other stars, which kind of, I'm surprised Luke Perry didn't make it.
Sometimes, to be honest, if they're not members of one of the guilds, they don't show up for whatever reason.
So maybe it was just kind of an oversight, or maybe they just want someone else to get in.
I don't think it's like an FU to the people. I think it's more of a case of they might not be on their radar. Like, as dumb as that sounds, like, remember, the Academy is run by people in their 70s and 80s. So,
rich old white dudes.
Pretty much. Like guaranteed, had he not passed a few days later, Kirk Douglas would have been all over it. He would have been probably the featured person, and probably will be next year.
Probably, yeah.
Like we know they always focus on like one big person. It'll be him. Because he's the last person of the golden age of Hollywood, like with the old Hollywood system. Like the very last leading man. They're all the rest are gone.
Oh no! Wait, they did honor Kirk Douglas because he's the guy from Spartacus, right?
Yeah. So
yeah. He was the last one. I just remembered Peter Fonda because they put in the clip from like Oscars. Easy Rider.
I didn't watch it, so I wasn't sure if they were able to get if like he was going to be a part of it at all. But okay.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised. I mean, there were some people that passed away. I completely forgot about Peter Mayhew. Although we did cover his death on the show. There was Danny Aiello, which I only know that because of you. I always remember your Family Guy joke.
Well, the family. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, not to disrespect the friggin' dead, but yeah, it was an entertaining show this year. A lot of good movies and a lot of good competition. I would have liked to have seen Jojo Rabbit win more, but it got Best Adapted Screenplay, which I didn't realize that was based on a book. That really surprised me. Taika Waititi won some other stuff. It was cool to see Kylo Ren nominated for some stuff. Scarlett Johansson was also nominated for Best Supporting, I think. There was a lot of really good movies this year, and this is the year I've seen more Oscar-nominated movies than I have in a really, really long time. So that made me feel pretty happy, all things considered. What else has happened this week? I started watching some of those DC animated movies that I've had for a while because I get like a bunch of digital codes and stuff from some publishers, and I just haven't had a chance to cover them here on the show. I watched Batman Hush, which was not as good as the original source material. Obviously, adapted for animation, they do take some liberties with it. And I watched this morning Batman versus Ninja Turtles, which was a lot better than I was expecting.
That one is the best one that they've done in maybe ever. Like the comedy was spot on. There were jokes that only older fans would get, while still maintaining a certain style. They actually found a way to blend them together.
Yeah, so I'm hopefully going to watch more of these as time goes on. I think the next one I'm going to watch is Justice League versus the Fatal Five. And then, I don't know, maybe I'll watch some Oscar movies to kind of round out my week. Because I'll be honest with you guys, it's been kind of a rough week emotionally. I'm entering the 5th week of my liquid diet. Still going strong. So far, so good. My God, I wish this was over. But hey, such as it is. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I was sort of catching up on some of my backlog of review stuff, which we'll have a turd or treasure episode. I'm going to say sometime next week, unless somehow I get the inspiration to get it out somehow super fast. But it's been sort of slow, but I did get a chance to go see 1917 on Sunday, and I can see why it won everything. I laughed my head off when it won Best Special Effects, because I saw some people online that hadn't seen the movie being like, how did Star Wars not win? How did Avengers not win? Star Wars didn't win because, surprise, surprise, hot take, it didn't have very good special effects. Having a 99% green screen movie where things are jarringly out of perspective, like when they show, like, there's parts where they show like a moon, it's too close. If it was that close, it would affect the gravity and fuck you up. Like there's parts in it that just didn't make any logical sense. They looked cool for the sake of looking cool, but didn't make any sense, or it took me out of the movie. Like the Force lightning.
Yeah.
Like that looked like something a 5-year-old kid would do. It's like, I'm going to shoot lightning and it's going to show up like tree branches and like kill a bunch of starships. And you're like, what? Didn't make sense. Anyway, and Avengers, while looking really cool,
it's still what we've come to expect from
Marvel. It's really good. And any other year, it would have been fine. The difference was 1917 used entirely practical effects and did like...
And when they did use kind of CG, you really couldn't tell.
Yeah. When you get a chance to go out and see it, you'll see that I'm willing to bet that there's maybe no CG in it.
There is, because during the Oscar, they did show there's like a big burning church or something. That's completely digital effect.
Okay, that would be the only thing that I could see doing that. Everything else appeared to be practical.
Yeah, I was genuinely impressed with what they, and at least from what I've seen.
Practical or in-camera effects, you know what I mean, done on the fly. So I can see why it got that, and I was like, it's like, people, go and actually see the movies before you judge them. Then just today I went out and saw Birds of Prey, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I will say that it's really good. It's not, I have not seen Suicide Squad, but everybody tells me how terrible it was.
I liked it, but only as a popcorn movie. I don't consider it part of the DCEU proper, because it doesn't really do anything other than Batman's there for like 2 minutes.
This has 2 flashbacks that are like 3 seconds apiece to what I assume is footage from the first movie. And then this is a completely new movie with a completely new style. This is basically DC's Deadpool.
That's what I've been hearing.
That's the exact feel for it. It's just as gory, maybe more sadistic, but not, it doesn't dwell on it. Like it's just sort of a fact of life is the way it's sort of presented. And anybody that does get hurt pretty much deserves it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I've seen other complaints saying that, some of the other characters don't get enough screen time. They get plenty of screen time. I don't know what they're talking about. This isn't, the problem is it's not a Birds of Prey movie. It's Harley Quinn with the Birds of Prey.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've been hearing too.
Well, and here's the thing: if you want to complain about that, originally there were not going to be Birds of Prey. She fought to get this to be a girl team movie. The studio didn't want it, so you know what I mean. Like, don't complain about it when it could have been much less.
Yeah, and this is one of the lower budget too. I think this only had a budget of like 32 million. Or
it's 85.
Like okay.
It's something. Think about the marketing budget. It's basically made the same money back in the weekend, but they're like, oh, it doesn't. It's not making the kind of money it should be making. This is a hard R-rated movie, and when I say hard R, I mean hard R,
like Deadpool level R.
More. This is more graphic, more intense, and deals with way more adult situations than Deadpool does. Deadpool is pure comedy. This is dark comedy.
Oh dear.
So it's really good though.
Yeah,
and I'm
looking forward to seeing it.
I will say this: Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. Didn't know anything about the character. Ewan McGregor's on a roll with having like, how many movies does he have now? Or in the next year, he's got, or in like 12 months, he's had the sequel to The Shining, and then he's had this, and then he's going to have the Obi-Wan TV show.
Yep.
So I guess he's got pretty big roles. He's by far one of the most insidious and compelling, creepy yet funny characters I've ever seen in a movie.
So probably one of the better DC villains we've gotten so far.
The best.
That's not a high bar to clear, but
best since the Burton movies.
Oh wow!
By far, and I will challenge anybody to explain to me why he's not.
You're saying he's better than the Heath Ledger Joker?
Same level, maybe better.
Oh, that's fighting words.
I always thought the Heath Ledger Joker was a little overrated. I felt like he got the praise because he died, and I said that even when it happened. Like, I felt like he would not have had the Oscar had he lived. It was a really good role. He was fantastic in it, but he was kind of one-dimensional. They didn't give enough backstory to him. They didn't really show into his psyche. He was just pure chaos for the sake of chaos. You can see the motivations and the psychology behind Black Mask in this. And you can actually understand why he is the way he is. He's just a sadistic, weird fuck on top of it.
Pretty much.
But yeah, so that's that. But anyway, I got out of the theater, turned on my phone because I'm a good theater goer that turns his phone off. And I got a whole bunch of emails. So I got some stuff that I'll be reviewing over the next week or two. I got 3 Yakuza titles because there's the remastered collection for the PS4. Dreams came in for the PlayStation from Sony, and Rune Factory 4, I guess the complete edition on the Switch. So I have a lot. We thought that February was going to be slow, and it's
we was wrong.
We was wrong. They're just like, and literally, I turn it on and it goes beep 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 beep, and I'm like, what? How many games are in here now? So I guess I'll be working pretty hard this weekend and next weekend.
Sounds good to me. So coming up on this show, we're going to be talking about the news, though. It'll be a little bit shorter this week, mostly because I think I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold, so I want to conserve my voice as best I can. We're also going to talk about the weird news since we didn't have it last week due to a technical problem, and I'm stupid. And we'll have all that and more coming up here on the show. So here's a review that Alex is going to throw in. I don't know what it is because he's editing the show this week. Behind the curtain. Don't know what it is.
I'll let you know quickly. I got 3 reviews. We don't know what the order they're going to be in just yet, but we've got 2 different movies that came from VVS Films. 21 Bridges, that's the Chadwick Boseman movie that just came out. Then there's Kill Chain, which is also from them. That is the new Nicolas Cage movie. It's like a neo-noir. There is, as far as gaming goes, there is Psikyo Shooting Stars Bravo, which is a shooter collection from NIS America. And we have Unmasked Part 25, which is a British tongue-in-cheek comedy horror lampooning and making fun of Friday the 13th and all the slasher movies. And it came out in the 80s. So sort of a little bit of everything.
Good times. All right. So once again, thank you for joining us here on TWIG, the flagship of stupidity. And we'll be back right after this.
This is a fair request, and I promise I will not judge any person only as a teenager, and that this is no more right than saying all teenagers are drunken dope addicts or glue sniffers.
Our friends at Vinegar Syndrome sent over a box of goodies to check out. The first of which I'm going to review on this show, which is Unmasked Part 25. Think 1980s, practical effects slasher movie. Obviously inspired mostly by Friday the 13th, but with almost like those parody movies that came out around the same time, like Loaded Weapon 1, or like any of those late 90s, early 2000s, spoof genre pictures like Epic Movie and that sort of crap. Only this is back when it was still done very, very well. So this is basically a British gory horror film comedy, if that makes any sense. So just to give you the basic premise, there's a hockey mask wearing psychotic killer who's hideously deformed, and he spends his time stalking and brutally murdering oversexed young people in a variety of nasty methods. That's right from the box art, and that's, pretty much every 80s slasher movie. But then a blind woman meets him and becomes kind of like a love story. The best way I can describe it is, like, what if Friday the 13th crossed over with Toxic Avenger, the first Toxic Avenger movie? That's sort of the feel here, but with British comedy and wit put into it throughout. So it's one of the best send-up movies I've seen, making fun of its own genre. And it's surprising that I've never really heard of it before. I'd heard the title here and there, but the idea that I'd never seen it, and I'd never even seen it in my video stores to rent as a kid, like it wasn't available here as far as I could tell, at least in my area. So being sent the Blu-ray of this was pretty sweet because I finally had a chance to check it out. And I know Birdman is probably going to be a big fan of it as well. I feel it's going to become part of his repertoire of spoof movies to watch because it seems like if you're into black comedy, horror, and send-up movies like that, you're going to probably like it. Now, as far as the technical specs of it, it's in its original aspect of 1:6:6:1, which is pretty standard for British widescreen, whereas 1:8:5:1 is what we're used to here. So it's going to be shaped a little differently than what you're used to maybe on the screen unless you watch a lot of British movies. But it is cool that they didn't crop it anymore to fit the original aspect ratio. The movie came out in 1988. It's just under 90 minutes, which is pretty standard for this type of movie. It is a region-free Blu-ray and DVD combo, so as long with the DVD, it'll be region-free but NTSC. So if you're living overseas or something, you might have to check on that. But the actual Blu-ray will be playable in any player you pop it into. It's been newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35 millimeter negative, and it's pretty cleaned up. You can tell that they took a lot of time to make sure that it performs exactly the way you wanted to see it. Like it's basically as good as new and would have seen in theaters. Like this wasn't going to be a high budget picture, but there is enough fidelity, detail, and contrast to make it look good. There is a audio commentary with the director, as well as producer, moderated by a couple members of the Laser Blast Film Society. Both are worth listening to for different types of insights, which is pretty cool. And I do like that they included two commentaries. You don't usually get a lot of that on these niche sort of releases. There's a stills gallery, which is pretty standard for a lot of Vinegar Syndrome releases. There's the original film trailer, reversible cover art, and overall, it's a pretty good package. Like you're looking at a retail price of about $25 for the standard Blu-ray. There is a limited edition Blu-ray that has a special slip cover, and that's limited to 2,000 copies, and once it's sold, and it's only like $1 more. So if you get a chance, you might want to check it out on the Vinegar Syndrome website. I'll put a link in the description for the show so that you can check out either the limited or regular edition. But if you are a big fan of like Friday the 13th, 80s horror slashers, and comedies, this is going to be something you're going to want to check out.
News on the mark!
here to deliver to you the news that is fit to print, though, as Egon once said, print is dead. So we are here in the digital age. I'm still Mike the Birdman Dodd. He's still Alex the producer. Let's talk about things that happened around the world of geek, dork, and dweeb this week. And we're going to start things off and probably stay with most of this in the entertainment world this week because Oscars. But we're not talking about Oscars. We're actually going to be talking about a movie that was fairly successful last year. And you may have heard of it, a little film that cost $40 million known as Knives Out, a fantastic whodunit movie that thrilled audiences, holding a 97 and 92% score respectively on Rotten Tomatoes. And while people were wondering, man, this is so good, it should deserve a sequel. Well, according to Lionsgate's CEO, during a third quarter earnings call, a sequel to Knives Out is officially happening. And they announced, and they're set to say that more announcements, including a production start, are imminent. I think they're starting to have this. They want to have it in 2022, maybe a little bit sooner, depending on how quickly they can pump this out. So this is kind of cool. Ryan Johnson told The Hollywood Reporter he's hoping to make the movie quickly with the goal of getting it done in the next year. This is kind of cool considering Knives Out was in theaters less than 14 months after it was first announced. If Johnson can get his script finished quickly, it might not be too long before the sequel hits the big screen. So I'm looking forward to it.
Not to mention, it's hard to wrangle a lot of famous actors together when they have other commitments. So if they can get it in within 2 years, that's pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, because the first movie had a huge all-star cast. I mean, they had Chris Evans, they had Jamie Lee Curtis, Christopher Plummer.
And I still haven't seen it, but I still
oh my God, it's so good.
I plan to as soon as possible because my brother and sister-in-law saw it and they said it was their favorite movie of last year.
It was something I saw very, very late in the year or early in the year this year. I got taken out on a random date night and I got a chance to see it. Although now I'm pretty sure you can get it on digital now. So if you get a chance to get it, please do.
Generally around Oscar season is when they start putting stuff like that out. So yeah.
Yeah. Like this was really, really good. And just the performances, Chris Evans is hysterical in it. And everybody else just plays it with such earnesty. And it's just really, really damn good. Plus General Zod is in it too. Michael Shannon. I'm trying to think of the other people. Like I'm just looking, I can see
Miami Vice.
That's right.
Who else? Toni Collette, who personally I've always thought she looked like a zombie. Pretty much everything. She looks like she's been dried out in like a mummy's tomb and then painted like orange. But she's a fantastic actress.
Yeah, like I loved her in United States of Terra, which is a show I didn't think I'd like, but I sat down with Blair and watched it about 5-6 years ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. Because she brought such weird manic energy to that movie.
That's the thing. Like I'm everything I say, I'm saying in jest because she is a fantastic actress.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Knives Out sequel. It's mostly going to be focused on the Daniel Craig character of Benoit Blanc, basically the New York detective with the Southern accent. So he's like, I'm trying to figure like who would be a good modern compare. I guess he's like a modern day Sherlock Holmes. Like he's
Poirot.
Always the smartest guy in the room.
He's basically Poirot. Like you remember that series of TV movies that ran for like 30 years, dude with a little mustache. It's that idea, or Columbo.
Okay, man. Actually, I'm surprised we haven't gotten a big screen Columbo movie. But then again, with Peter Falk dead, like it's kind of like recasting Magnum PI. It's a little weird.
Oh, I won't watch it. I will like. And here's the thing: like, was it Jay Hernandez that's playing him? I think
something like that.
If it's the guy I'm thinking of, or the guy from Hostel, playing him. Yeah, good enough actor. No mustache, no watchy. That's simply how it goes. Also, when like I would just rather watch Blue Bloods and watch Tom Selleck basically be Magnum as a police chief. So why would I watch? Like why? No, wrong. Same with Lethal Weapon. There's a reason that show failed.
Although I'm glad that at least gave Sean William Scott something to do for a while, because I missed that
for
guy.
half a season before they canceled the show.
Which is terrible, because I like Sean William Scott too. He's a funny guy. But I think he's doing okay. I'm not sure. I think he
Goon
more or
and
less
Goon 2, dude. Those are great movies.
And to say what you will about the American Pie movies, declining returns, of course, but he brought such a funness to those movies, I think, and I still watch them with Blair on occasion.
Road Trip, when he has the anally induced ejaculation.
I forgot about that.
And it's the nurse that helps him is, what's her name? I think she's the one that was on the cover. Is she the one that was on the cover of the Blink-182 album? The porn star?
Maybe?
I think it is.
I don't know.
If not, she was an adult actress, and that scene, I mean, it's only 30 seconds long. I will put it on YouTube on repeat and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh, and it's 20 years old. So yeah, he's great for physical comedy. So
yeah. So our next little bit of news, there isn't a whole lot to report here, but it's worth kind of mentioning. So a movie came out back in 2015 called Turbo Kid, which I saw a trailer for on YouTube, and I thought it looked ridiculous, but the soundtrack was amazing.
It's how I was introduced to a lot of the retro synth stuff. I saw it in theaters.
I'm jealous.
It actually premiered like day one premiere at the Apollo Cinema here in where I live, and it was one of a few cities that got it that way, because the rest of the world got it, I guess, video on demand. But they picked like art house theaters to show it, and it was packed. Like the theater is decent; it holds 300 people, which is a lot for a screening if you think about it. And it was completely full. And before it aired, because the movie's kind of short, it's like 73 minutes or whatever. They paired it with Kung Fury as a short to play at the beginning.
Oh, that would have been great.
So they played Kung Fury, then played like a Let's All Go to the Lobby sort of song, like old school retro thing. And then they played the movie, and I was smiling ear to ear the entire movie.
You showed it to me years ago.
Yeah, once it came on video, like it was one of my go-tos. I'm like, when was the last time you saw it? Like when I went to see it, it was like, okay, it's a little retro, pseudo 80s vision of the future sort of thing. Low budget Canadian, like the music from the trailer. But then I went, wait, when am I ever going to get to see Michael Ironside as a bad guy again in theaters? You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, like you showed it to me and you just explained it to me. It's like this retro 80s apocalyptic movie. Just think of it as like Mad Max, but starring a kid. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, a kid wants to be a superhero based on the comic book he has, and then finds out that the comic book is based on a real person and finds the turbo suit.
Yeah, it was just amazingly well done. It was so much fun and energy. So the story here is this comes out of a podcast that was recorded a little while ago. The directors, Johann Carl Whistle, Enoch, I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name wrong, Whistle.
Probably Enoch or Nuke, something like that.
Nuke, something like that. And Francois Simard quickly revealed they were developing a sequel to this movie that would take place immediately after the events of the first film. However, that was 3 years since then, but the filmmakers are still hoping to get back together. So one of the producers for the movies, Ant Thompson, said, well, look, that's been a long time coming, producer Ant Thompson told the Boo Crew podcast while promoting his directorial debut, Come to Daddy, which opens in select theaters, VOD, and digital last week. However, there's a script for Turbo Kid 2. We want to make it. That's all I can say. It's really a case of finding the backers, financiers, because it's way more ambitious. It's kind of like the Road Warrior step up from Mad Max. It's that sort of ambition, and you need a bit more money than we had for the first film. They want to make it a dream project. It's also unclear if Monroe Chambers and Lawrence LaBouffe will be reprising their roles as the Kid and Apple, respectively, although it seems likely as they're the first film's main characters. I would be thrilled to see this happen.
Yeah, this was sort of like not like a huge crazy runaway hit, but it was a hit at film festivals and art house screenings and across Canada and the States. Think the style of the Tarantino Grindhouse movies. Like remember when Hobo,
but a lot more colorful.
Like, do you remember when Hobo with a Shotgun actually got spun off? Like because that was the trailer they played before the Canadian screenings, and then it got so popular they made a whole movie with Rutger Hauer.
Yep. I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, me too. For that one weekend, it was in that, and that one had a wide release. But this is the same deal. Like every once in a while, there is like a Canadian movie that will become a cult classic, and this is one of those ones that's been popping up at like parties all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see it if they're looking for financing, it means they're not looking for like $1 million. They're looking for 10 or 15, which for what these filmmakers did on like a shoestring budget, it would be amazing to see what they can do with a little more. And it's what it's showing is like, I figured it would be worth it because this story is getting traction. Yet it's like, you'd think, well, it's a nothing Canadian movie. It's like, yes, but some of the nothing Canadian movies have gone on to be like super duper successful way later, like the Meatballs franchise back in the 70s, or like Porky's. Like without Porky's, you don't have American Pie.
Yeah,
it's basically this. It's basically the same movies.
yeah, like it set the template for the teen sex comedy. Yeah, I mean, if this happens, which I genuinely hope it do, because the Road Warrior and Mad Max set up such a huge. It changed how action movies were made, especially coming from a smaller market, because Mad Max pretty much wrote Road Warrior. That's what we all expected apocalypses to look like. Turbo Kid being made on a relatively small budget. I can't imagine they should have trouble finding money for this. I mean, even if they did a Kickstarter, even if that brought in a couple of $1 million,
they made a music video, or like the people that did some of the soundtrack for it made a music video, an extended one that was a pseudo sequel, so that was supposed to bridge the gap between the first and the second movie. It's worth checking out. You can find it if you just search out Turbo Kid music video, and it's like, I think it's like 10 or 20 minutes long, and it shows like what happens directly after this movie ends, and it came out like a year or two later. It's worth watching. To give you an idea of why we're talking about this, it's pretty rare that a movie like this, like it's a theatrical run that's like post-apocalyptic, tongue-in-cheek 80s throwback kind of movie, it has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes among all critics, which is pretty damn rare. So, we're not just blowing steam up everybody's ass.
Yeah,
this is a good movie.
Seek this movie out if you can. It is absolutely worth your time, and hopefully we will see a sequel. Okay, so our final story this week is a little near and dear to my heart. This one comes courtesy of Equestria Daily, which I actually used to promote Last Exit to Ponyville over at that website. So big thanks to them. However, I found out this is coming in the next little bit. So this is supposed to be coming out, in the next year. So the release date is November 3rd, 2020. So later on this year, Transformers meets My Little Pony, Friendship in Disguise. So
did that just, like, when you saw that article and then like the cover of the first issue, did it just like give you a complete nerdgasm?
I was surprised at how good the artwork works with it, because I've seen some of the first 4 variant covers to this, and it looks good. The best looking one is not the primary one from the article, which has Megatron and Optimus Prime, but it's RC and Rarity. That looks really good. Like, it looks really on point.
Now, does this give you hope that they might do a crossover TV special?
I don't think you'll get a TV special. I do think, however,
you think like a direct-to-video movie?
No. I think you will see a toy at Comic-Con. That I could see.
Oh, for sure that. But if this were to get traction with all the bronies and everybody out there and like the crossover 80s stuff, it's all owned by the same people. So they're, if Paramount, wants to get in, because Paramount usually has been very picky about doing animated features or direct-to-video features, and it was really surprising that they gave the rights to TMNT to do the Batman TMNT one. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were testing the waters to start putting out more, either to a streaming network or to something like that, start making stuff, because I could see this being a property that would do well in a streaming network to make like a short or make like a 1 hour movie.
maybe they would do something like I don't know, because the last time they did something is they did the Equestria Girls movies, and they did okay. I mean, they would go theatrical for a weekend, and then they would go to like a streaming service, or you'd see them on the Hub or something like that. They're released pretty consistently through Shout Factory, I think. I've seen most of them, not all of them. So here's what it says. So the book is written by Ian Flynn and James Asmus, illustrated by Tony Flex and Jack Lawrence at 96 pages. So this is not a short read. So here's the official synopsis. Ponies, Autobots, and Decepticons mix it up in this graphic novel mashup. When Queen Chrysalis, I think she's the bad guy of like the third season, casts a spell looking for more changelings, she accidentally interferes with a malfunctioning space bridge. What's this mean for our favorite fillies? There are suddenly a bunch of Autobots and Decepticons in Equestria, and as the dust settles, Rarity and RC find themselves teaming up against a hostile Decepticon force. Plus Spike and Grimlock, Pinkie Pie, Gage and Shockwave, Fluttershy, Discord and Soundwave, Rainbow Dash and Windblade, Optimus Prime and Twilight Sparkle all team up for more adventures. Now, I'm hoping that they take a shot or a reference from the Screw Attack Death Battle series, because there was a point where they had Starscream versus Rainbow Dash, and Rainbow Dash won.
You know, all I can think of, I'm not part of that community, but I would be reading it, like the Brony community. I would read, I would watch, I would pay to see Derpy Who's as a headmaster, basically like controlling, or one of the ponies gets the exoskeleton suit that Spike and Daniel
wears,
and especially in the movie, and you just see, you know, one of them in the suit running and transform, turning into a little car and driving away.
I think this has potential to be really cool, and it is done by the IDW team. So their artwork has almost always been fantastic. Now, I stopped reading the Pony comics about 2.5 years ago, basically when I moved to where I currently live now. And the artwork was almost always consistent.
I haven't read much of the Transformers. I have friends that have, but I did until about 2 years ago keep up with the Star Trek stuff, and they're always consistent with their licensed properties. Like there's never really anything terrible.
Yeah, like IDW has a pretty solid track record with the really big properties, like Transformers. That's their bread and butter. My Little Pony, Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles. I think that did Thundercats. I think DC has He-Man or something. I'm not 100% sure.
I think they've got Battlestar and a few other properties. Like was it like Micronauts or something they picked up? Like they're picking up every 80s property right now.
Yeah, basically anything that's hot, they'll typically pick up. I'm just very, very, very quickly going to look.
They also do the G.I. Joe, don't they?
I think so. I'm almost certain of that. Let's see. There we go. IDW. What books? Oh, they also do Sonic the Hedgehog. They also have a book series based on Glow. So the gorgeous women, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
That might actually be interesting. It might be more interesting than the actual WWE one. But thinking about it, they've handled crossovers quite well before. Like they've done, was it?
They did one a couple years ago. It was Ghostbusters, it was Ninja Turtles, and Transformers and Zombies called Infestation.
Did they also do? Was it them or was it DC that did the Star Trek Legion of Doom or Legion of Superheroes?
I don't remember,
because I know they've been known to do crossovers. I think with other companies too.
I think IDW did Star Trek and Doctor Who called Assimilation.
They absolutely did. I read that one. They did two of them, two different volumes.
Yeah, there was one where it happened in the classic era and one where it was TNG with Captain Picard.
Yeah, and that was like Matt Smith and working with Picard to stop the Borg that are like getting involved with, like, it's like mixing all the AIs from the different universes together.
Yeah, so I think IDW's got a winner here. It's going to sell. I will buy this book digitally because I buy my books digital. It's just so much easier to carry around an iPad than to keep it stored in a box.
Yeah, okay.
Because
it was
just
Star
is.
Trek, Legion of Superheroes, IDW, DC co-production. So
Okay.
they're known to play nice with everybody, which is rare. Like when do you see like DC or Marvel do like co-productions with other companies? Other than IDW, I can't think of any.
Yeah, because you don't see Marvel do too many team ups. You see more DC team ups. Like you'll see Batman and Ninja Turtles from time to time.
And,
Batman versus
and you
Predator.
won't see Marvel because Disney is Disney, so they won't do it anymore.
I can't think of any in recent memory. It doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I just don't know, which means it's out of my exactly eyesight.
Same.
So anyway, that's the news this week. We're going to follow up with yet another review as I try to dodge a hiccup right now. And we'll be back right here on TWIG, the flagship of stupidity.
Do you have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Hold that thought. It's crapper time.
We were sent over 2 movies from VVS Films that just are hitting Blu-ray, and that is 21 Bridges and Kill Chain. Kill Chain is a film, sort of noir thriller starring Nicolas Cage. And if you're wondering where it sort of sits in the realm of Cage performances, it's a little more subdued than some of the Not the Bees crazy movies. But again, he puts it in his all. He always gives 110% pretty much every movie he puts out. Overall, it's worth a watch. It's a pretty good and enjoyable noir thriller. It's not going to blow your socks off. This isn't something that's going to be like, one for the ages. But if you're looking for a good movie to watch, like on a weekend or to flip on if you're a collector, you can't really go wrong. It's not inept in any way. He's had some pretty poor movies before, but this is not one of them. This is pretty decent. As far as special features go, VVS has included behind the scenes, pretty standard sort of junket stuff that they include. It is a pretty bare bones release other than that. But the visual quality is pretty top notch, as most brand new films are nowadays. Audio-wise, the True HD soundtrack is dynamic and it's pretty well mixed. So, a straightforward Nicolas Cage movie. Pretty decent. As far as the other release here, we have 21 Bridges, which had a wide theatrical release and kind of underperformed in theaters initially. I missed it. I originally had planned to go see it, but, life got in the way. So I finally had a chance to sit down and watch the home video release. And I found that it's better than a lot of the reviews were giving it. A lot of it, I almost feel like it was unfairly criticized, or like they had expectations for it had to be this amazing thing because Chadwick has just come off of some of the biggest films of the last couple of years. But it's got a solid cast. The plot is decent. It felt like a 90s cop action thriller movie that you would have seen for the last 20, 30 years that had it come out in an earlier time when maybe the expectations were different, people would have been like, this is a pretty good movie. And it is. It's pretty solid. It's one that I can see people enjoying. I ended up watching it with my family and, multi-generations. Everybody seemed to like it. So I don't see any problems with it. I feel like, again, it was unjustly given mediocre reviews. It's pretty good. Again, not too many special features, pretty standard stuff on there, nothing to write home about. Good dynamic mix, really good cinematography, and good acting from everybody involved. So, overall, pretty good. Both of these films are hits as far as, it can be hit or miss sometimes with some of these movies, especially ones like Nicolas Cage and that. I wasn't expecting a whole lot with 21 Bridges, but it turns out I was pretty impressed with both. They're retailing, depending on where you get them, at about the $20 mark, give or take sales from different retailers. But both are worth checking out, and overall, VVS Films did a pretty good job bringing these to the home video market.
What makes you qualified to be a reporter? I'm willing to violate anyone's privacy for my personal gain and then claim with a straight face that the public has a right to know.
By the hand of Zeus, what manner of deviltry is this?
I love fake alien poop day.
once again welcome you to entertain with us this bizarre, strange place we call planet Earth. And this is the weird news, where we've actually vetted our stories this week and done our proper research. Thank you. We did double check the dates on some of these things.
By we, you mean both of
me.
us? Right? Oh,
yeah.
That's right.
Totally me. I own that one. That was a mistake last week. So anyway, this one comes courtesy of Florida affiliate WDTN.com, 2 News, and from Santa Rosa County, Florida. 2 men were not discreet in their plans to sell drugs in the Florida Panhandle, according to officials. The Florida Highway Patrol arrested 2 alleged drug traffickers after troopers pulled them over on Saturday and found drugs in a bag labeled "Bag full of drugs." A traffic stop for unlawful speed on I-10 yesterday, this was sometime last week, bagged 2 drug traffickers and their not so inconspicuous drug paraphernalia. Troopers seized meth, CHB, which I think is the date rape drug, cocaine, MDMA, and fentanyl, thanks to the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Department office for the assist. Troopers made the discovery after the men were pulled over for speeding on the I-10. The Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office assisted in the search of the vehicle, which turned up methamphetamine, GHB, also known as date rape drug, cocaine, MDA, fentanyl, whatever. Note to self, do not traffic your illegal narcotics in bags labeled "bag full of drugs." Our canines can read.
What you should do. Okay, here, first of all, I guess I don't really want to give drug traffickers any ideas, but I have 2 tips for you. 1, don't speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Drive
obey the law.
Drive completely normal. Have no issues with your vehicle, no broken taillights, no infractions.
Up-to-date plates.
Up-to-date plates. Keep your seatbelts on. Don't talk on your phone in there. You know, have takeout. Like if when you drive by the cops, if they see you taking a sip out of a coffee, they're gonna go, oh, he's just going to work, or she's going to work. It doesn't matter. So that's 1. Number 2, if you do have a giant
bag of drugs,
a giant like burlap sack that says in bold text, like big as
cocaine,
that says "bag full of drugs," and like these are bold, large black text on a like off-white bag. What you do is you fill that bag with things like your cell phone, candy, random stuff that would be like
joke
as a joke. Not even candy. No, actually, don't put candy. Don't put things that could be mistaken for drugs in there. That's where you put like your Subway sandwich or your groceries. And you know what you do with your drugs? You put it in a normal grocery bag and you put that in your trunk, because then when the cops pull you over, they'll look at the bag full of drugs. They might think you're suspicious. They'll open your bag. You go, "Officer, it's just obviously it's a joke, whatever." And then if, for one, they probably then will just wave you off and laugh. Or 2, if they go, "We open your trunk," you'd be like, "No."
I just had a thought,
because they're not allowed to make you open their trunk without a warrant. So,
unless you consent to a search.
Exactly. But if you'd be like, "Officer, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not staying here any longer. You're just harassing me because you saw this." And that's if you get pulled over, which you won't if you were obeying steps number 1 that we talked about.
Don't be a dumbass.
So you know what? That's why, like, it's only the dumb drug dealers that get caught, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sure, it's good for a laugh, and you might think, "Oh, what are the odds?" Well, the odds did not play out in your favor. Palooka, good work.
Or if you live in a bunch of certain states or all across Canada, you know what? You can have your bag full of drugs. Just don't, in Canada at least, don't have over 30 grams, or was it 30 grams of weed? Yeah, I think it's 30 you're allowed to have on you at any given time for personal use. So just, if you're going to fill your bag full of drugs, make sure whatever drugs you put in there are legal.
Yeah, because I used to watch a show called Drugs Inc., and they talk about people who would act as mules, and they would carry just enough that would be under the limit they could get busted for trafficking, where it would be like a lesser charge, and they'd measure it out.
It would be like not trafficking or intent to sell. It would be like whatever the legal limit for personal use would be.
Yeah, or something like that. It was ridiculous. Drug people are usually ridiculously well organized, but sometimes you get the idiots and they get caught, as evidenced by these 2
bozos.
Individuals. Exactly. This next story comes courtesy of everyone's favorite magazine, Cosmopolitan. but it does tie into what Alex was talking about in the beginning of the show, and that's birds of prey. So Burger King, my favorite burger joint, is running a promotion right now. If you happen to live in the cities of New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Boston. Why Boston, of all places? Evidently, this Valentine's Day, if you visit some of these locations, if you bring a printed photo of your ex and stuff it inside one of these boxes, you get a free Whopper. So, yeah, you get a breakup box. Because that's totally a thing you can do. However, if you don't live near one of these breakup boxes locations, or if you don't have a picture of your ex for whatever reason, Burger King is also launching a in-app quiz with 5 questions. If you answer 4 correctly, you can get a $3 Whopper.
So $3 Whopper in the States, that's making basically
it's like $2 basically.
Well, that's American already. So that would be roughly $4 here, which a Whopper is what, $6? So you save a couple of dollars for answering a couple questions.
It kind of reminds me of the promo they did years back, and it didn't go over so well, where they said, would you sacrifice 5 of your friends for a Whopper? And it was on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you could delete 5 random people. And it didn't come over to Canada, but I remember this thing backfiring spectacularly.
Do you remember the black bun burger for Halloween?
I do. I also remember the Angry Whopper. I remember they had one for, I think this was only in Japan. They had like a Darth Vader one too, which essentially just is the Black Whopper. There's like a slime Whopper too.
Yeah, the Black Whopper, people like, I would have had it. It was no problem with it, but people looked at it and they're like, it's gone bad. And it's like, no. Does it smell like it's gone bad? No. But people see it and they got outraged and they didn't go there. Like out of all the burger places, you got Wendy's, at least in Canada, their Wendy's Twitter and all that. Like they have really good social media that spoofs things. McDonald's is basically always McDonald's. Yeah. But Burger King is out of all the fast food joints, is probably the one to take the most risks on almost everything, on their menus changing, on their marketing. Them and KFC. KFC takes risks, but they haven't in a long time.
I don't know. They had RoboCop, the Double Down, and they had the Waffle Double Down, which was exclusive to Canada.
But how many years ago has that been now?
About 2. And RoboCop was last year.
Okay. But it always seems like every 6 months to a year, Burger King is changing their menu or trying something crazy.
Yeah, like I remember when Burger King introduced chicken fries, and that was a huge thing. Burger King's also always had the crazy mascot.
Well, yeah, now
or at least post 2000 anyway.
Yeah, the sneaking and all that stuff. What they've done now though is like they've changed the rest of their menus up entirely. The chicken nuggets are gone. Remember how they had those?
Really? They don't have them anymore?
Nope, they have spicy popcorn chicken. So they're changing up they're trying new things. And I know some people will be like, well, it's not consistent. It's like, no, because you want consistent, you just go to McDonald's.
Or Subway. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing every time. Wendy's is the same thing every time, and then they just occasionally bring out the mushroom burger. Like a lot of these places don't change a lot. Burger King, if you go every like 3 or 4 months, they're like, oh, there's something new. And it might not be there forever, but sometimes something is good and it stays. And I do like that they're trying something new like this. I would have thought they would have gone with a couple more larger cities, like they could have done Toronto and Vancouver as well.
They almost never do the Canadian markets. I'm actually really surprised they didn't do Las Vegas, but I can see that being a thing of foot traffic. Foot traffic. LA's a big omission.
Or
Dallas.
You know what? If they weren't going to do Toronto or if they were going to try to do Canada one thing, they should have done Niagara Falls. There are 2 Burger Kings. There's the one on Clifton Hill, which is the big Frankenstein one. Yeah.
Or there's the one, where's the other Burger King? The Burger King's on the other side of town.
But you know what? They could have done it there. How perfect would that marketing have been? The city most famous for honeymoons in the world is.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like
the breakup capital.
The breakup, the breakup and makeup and honeymoon capital of the world. They could have done it right there. It would have been perfect. And it wouldn't.
That's really smart.
Locations, it wouldn't have cost them much to send them some of the supplies or whatever. And it would have gone well in a commercial. It's like it just like shows people, like they could have done a commercial where it shows people looking at the falls, looking at each other's eyes and kissing, and then it pans over to a whole bunch of people waiting in line at Burger King with torn up pictures.
Alex, you missed your calling, man. You should have been in marketing.
See what I mean? Like, and it's like I spent all my life on the other side in like support services.
All right, so coming to our last story this week. This one is really kind of weird. I got this from Coast to Coast AM, so that's to be expected with good old George Norrie. I still believe he's hosting. So a small town in Australia has been overrun by an enormous colony of bats, and frustrated residents have had enough of the aerial invaders. The problem has reportedly been getting steadily worse over the last few weeks as the population of flying foxes in the community of Ingram has grown to the point where experts believe there are now 300,000 of the creatures taking up residence there. To put that in perspective, the town only has approximately 4,500 people living there at any given time. The problem has become so severe that some of the trees in the town's botanical garden, the trees are snapping because the tree limbs can't handle the weight of the bats. The town smells putrid from all the guano, or aka bat shit. Emergency medical helicopter had to be diverted away from the hospital because it couldn't land in a swarm of these things, so it had to do laps around the city for a little bit before it could eventually land. A resident was actually bitten and scratched, and these particular bats are known to carry a rabies-like virus, which there have been 3 in the last year. All 3 of them were fatal. Luckily, this kid got away with just a scratch and a bite. It's kind of nutty. It typically only happens between morning and night where you see these things, and it looks like something out of a horror movie. The residents describe it as reporter Pippa Bradshaw says the noise is horrendous. The smell is putrid and lingers long after the bats have flown away for the evening. And because these particular bats are a protected species, they can't just kill them. They have to use humane methods such as lights, sound, or poke them with a stick, basically.
But I love it has basically an asylum mockbuster movie title for the caption. It just says Bat Tornado.
It's
why
so weird.
Why have we not had a Bat NATO movie yet?
Have you watched the video of this?
Yeah.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, the sky is black.
Don't go to Queensland.
Yeah, like, can you just imagine, and this is terrible, because obviously I'm a very big animal lover, but can you just imagine standing in a field with a flamethrower and just aiming up?
All I'm picturing is Ace Ventura When Nature Calls, and how he loves every animal on the planet, but not bats. And then it shows him. Remember when he goes into the cave, and he's like, it's okay. I'm one with all. Blah blah blah, humming to himself, and then he hears a screech. Die. And he's like, I've got my torch. I'm okay. Die, winged spawn of Satan. Throws the torch, and then it goes out, and he goes, uh-oh. And it just shows him running. They're in my hair, and there's like hundreds of them running at him. That's all I'm picturing.
Oh yeah, like people don't go outside at night. Like some of the local businesses I watched. There's this report on the Coast to Coast website, and the video is like 7 minutes long. There's people scraping shit off of the town cenotaph, off of businesses, and if you've ever lived in an area where there's a particularly high bat population, it's not a pleasant smell.
Grandparents' cottage, believe me.
Oh. So just, my God, hundreds of thousands of bats. Fuck that.
Smelling
just, yeah, but let alone hundreds of thousands. Yeah, no, that's a whole lot of I'm not going outside at night. And the worst thing about this is they've closed a national park nearby because they don't want people to get sick.
Because they're disease spreaders.
And parents are threatening to boycott local schools unless, like, hey man, you got to do something. And and the town of Ingram is willing to spend up to $250,000, so $250,000 to get rid of these things. That's not going to be enough.
You know what's going to happen? There's going to be a group of people that go through under cover of night, and
flamethrowers,
and they're going to torch them, and then they'll get out. There'll be an investigation. The investigation will be a sham, just to ignore it. Just to appease the government because they're a protected species. And that's how they're going to get rid of them. They're going to have to scare them away so they never want to come back. Because the longer they stay, the more they're going to breed. And then you're going to have 1 million of them.
Well, it's weird because of the way this particular life cycle works out with these bats, or as I understood in the report, the bats breed at different times. So the bat colony is constantly growing. So some people are having babies, and
they're going to have they're not. I'm not condoning. I'm saying somebody will do that to make it so that the bats know that this is not a habitable place.
Yeah, totally. Like something's going to happen sooner
and if somebody gets caught, like they'll, in the eyes of the law, they'll be a criminal, but in the eyes of the public, they'll be a hero.
Yeah. So just you, winged spawn of Satan. And on that pleasant note, we're going to take things out of the weird news this week, and going to be yet another review coming to us from Alex, and then we'll give you a treat on what's going to be coming up on the show next week on the show. So we'll be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm Mike, the Birdman Dodd with a burp. That's Alex, the producer. We'll be back.
Mike with the Birdman Dodd with a burp. You sound like beep.
Basically using geeks.
Leave me alone, geek boy.
Holy shit, you geeks are badass.
Just a little while ago, I reviewed the Psikyo Shooting Stars first game, alpha in the series, and I was pretty impressed with the 6 shooters that were included. 1, maybe 2 weren't really my game, but there's a lot of options there. And I said that Bravo, the second title, which is collecting 6 more, was coming soon. Well, I had a chance now to check out that on the Switch, and I don't know which game I like better. I like them for different reasons. I found that the selection of games on both has been pretty well spread out, so that you're not going to have like a whole ton of really good ones on the first version, and then a whole ton that are really good, and then some on the other that aren't. It's sort of spread evenly. Like maybe one title here that I might not like as much as the other, but overall, I'm pretty happy with both. I find some of these games I think a little bit harder, but they're visually stimulating and very responsive. So, everything I said in my first review about the controls and all the features and how you can interchange settings and dip switches and everything, it's all exactly the same here. It's just the different pick of games. So here, included in Bravo is Samurai Aces Episode 1, Samurai Aces Episode 2, Tengai, Samurai Aces Episode 3, Sengoku Cannon, Gunbridge, Gunbird, and Gunbird 2. And I can't pick one that I like the most, but they're all unique slightly. Even the ones that are incremental in the series have their variations, changes, and improvements, and all play a little differently, which is pretty fun. Overall, I enjoy both. I think it's a good 1-2 punch. It would be kind of cool if, I don't know, maybe down the line they would do like a double pack or something where you can get both. But overall, I'm pretty happy with them. If you like arcade shooters and you want to play them, portably on the Switch, this is a good match, especially when you're playing. I'm playing it on the Switch Lite, so it's an even smaller screen. It's just the visuals pop so well and the graphics look really good. And then playing it on my main Switch docked, I found that the graphics scaled pretty well, even to a 50-inch TV. So they've done a really good job here at the ports and making it all run smoothly. No slowdowns, runs pretty much perfectly. I've played pretty much every night about 10-15 minutes before I go to bed, just play a couple levels, and then pause the game, come back to it later on, and pretty sweet. You can change all the settings, like I said before, as far as difficulty goes, but there's still areas where, even if you have unlimited continues, when you go to the last level, it won't let you continue. If you die right from where you left off, you have to start the level over again. But if you increase your characters to, let's say, like 9 extra lives, you can usually combat most of the difficulties, except for a couple sections where I was getting a little frustrated. But overall, Psikyo Shooting Stars Bravo from NAS America, it's another hit. I hope they start doing more compilations like this in the future.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
It has been yet another jam-packed show here on TWIG, the flagship of stupidity, because, hey, me and Alex are clearly some of the dumbest people in the room. Some days we are the smartest people in the room, but you don't know what day you're in the room with us. So whether we're dumb or stupid or smart, you don't know. It's a good time. So anyway, yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up. As Alex mentioned, he has a lot of reviews in the pipe. I am going to be looking at a documentary about the WOW signal in the next little bit. I got sent that documentary for a review. I'm probably going to watch it this week. So maybe I'll get a chance to talk with one of the filmmakers. I don't know. I'm also going to be talking with an author of a book called Full Frontal Nerdity. And we'll be talking with her at some point next week. The interview will appear after that. I also have a bunch of books from DK Publishing to go through. I still have Dr. Sleep to review from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment, which is the sequel to The Shining, which I don't know whether it was necessary, but I don't know. I hear the movie was okay. It just didn't do too well at theaters.
It's good.
So I'll be looking forward to that. And Alex has a crap ton of video games, like the Yakuza remasters.
And those are going to come a little later. What I've got, let's see, what is the date next week? So,
the I don't know.
And 18th. We usually put out shows on Monday or Tuesday. I should have the Bayonetta and Vanquish 4K remaster. The review for that should be that next week, I believe, as soon as I can get done both games, because that's a lot. There's also,
and one of them is hard.
Yeah. I'm thinking we're gonna have Tammy and the T-Rex, because I've got the 4K copy and Blu-ray copy of that, and that is one that I believe we've both been wanting to see for quite some time.
Yeah, because it's just a weird concept for a movie. I'm thinking, well, it looks stupid and interesting, so clearly
here's the thing.
VVS has put it out.
No, that's Vinegar Syndrome. It's Vinegar Syndrome on that one. Between like VVS, Vinegar Syndrome, Mill Creek, and like Arrow, like it's incredible the amount of these weird back catalog movies that are starting to come out. Now, if you're thinking you've seen it or heard of it before, or you've watched famous YouTube reviewers talk about it, they've talked about the home video or television or the pirated copy of the movie, which they include on the disc, the best quality copy of that version. It's also cut to all hell. Like, it's edited significantly. This was originally given an NC-17 rating for violence. And all of that was cut out. Well, they have the original version of the film released to the public for the first time. So that's the version we're going to be talking about.
Good time. So we'll be talking about that next week. So next week is Family Day here in Ontario. So since we're recording this on a Tuesday night, you might be hearing this late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. So the schedule may be similar next week, guys. So don't worry, we're not taking Mondays off. Just it's a holiday and we want to spend it with our family. So deal with it.
Pretty much.
We're hopefully going to be doing some more stuff. So as always, thank you for joining us here on the show. We definitely appreciate you being with us and being invited into your homes, your cars, your train rides. Perhaps maybe you're going for a run. Maybe you're stalking your prey like some sort of a deranged serial killer. I don't know. Anyway, for This Week in Geek, we have been
Alex.
I've been Mike the Birdman Dodson. Live for your die hard. And as my friend Jackie Bam Bam might say, be cool, be kind, be careful. We'll catch you guys next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Well, that's our show. All right, here's the deal. Every time you watch my show, I will send you $40.
Checks will not be honored.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek, your source for guaranteed nonsense or your money back. Tune in next week for more info on the most important things you didn't need to know. Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or any podcatcher. If you'd like to comment on this episode, head over to this episode's post at ThisWeekInGeek.net and leave a comment through Facebook Connect. Follow us on Twitter at ThisWeekInGeek.net and follow our Instagram at twig_official_podcast. Social media not your thing? Send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. We'll see you next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
What?
It ends.
I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening.
Bat. What? Bat.
The one we're here to find, Mr. Ventura.
You didn't say anything about a bat.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? Have you ever seen a bat? They're hideous. Lifeless, beady eyes, clawed feet, huge, grotesque wings, fangs. They give you rabies, you know.
Yes, quite. I see your point. But are you saying that you won't take the case?
No. As a being of light, I must show compassion for all the living things of nature.
Good.
I'm not touching it, though. Who spanked you? I will fear no living creature as long as I keep this near me. Take that, you winged spawn of Satan! That's okay. All I really need is my torch.